Hello, hello, good morning. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Sunday 10 a.m. technique at the Canada's Big Landmarks online crop. And we had lots of fun yesterday. We were touring through Ontario and Quebec, seeing all of the giant things that there are to see there. Today we are going through the Maritimes, Newfoundland, Labrador, and a few little stops up north as well. And so, although technically it's really hard to do a road trip up in the Arctic because in between major centers there are no roads. So it's less of a road trip and more of a airplane hop. So, we are going to be doing something this morning that I'm calling woven circles. And it was an interesting idea. I've seen a couple examples of it online, either on Pinterest or different places. And I thought it seems pretty unique. It creates a really cool texture, and it's something just fun to do. It's great also to do when you have little scrappy bits of cardstock kicking around. So for those of you who have, the rainbow color organized scraps of cardstock, this is a great project for you. Now, to do the project today, I created some circles and I used the Stylish Shapes dies to do that. And I was using the second smallest circle die, which gives a nice little stitched edge, which I think adds another element to this technique. But this creates about a 1¼ inch circle. Now, if you had a punch, that would definitely speed the process up. If you had a 1 inch punch or a 1¼ inch punch, if you had a 1 inch punch, you could make a standard size card. Because I used a 1¼ inch punch, I ended up creating a 5x7 card with this technique. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can just comment and let me know you're watching. I see Heather's here. Good morning, Heather. And Allison as well. Hello, hello. Good morning. So we are going to start our project. And the first thing we need to do is we need to choose what color of cardstock we want to use. And a lot of the examples that I saw of this sort of technique involved using a gradient of color. And it was either a gradient of several colors or sort of a monochromatic gradient. So I decided that it seemed pretty dramatic to have a monochromatic gradient. So I started out with one of my new favorite colors from the Stampin' Up! Color collection, and that is Pretty Peacock, which is a nice dark greeny bluey gorgeousness color, like a really dark turquoise. And for this particular project, I'm going to use 4 of those circles. So we've got 2 there, and then I have 2 that I've already prepared by folding in half. Okay, then let's just fold these while we're going along here. So we started out with Pretty Peacock. I cut out 4 of them, and this is why having a punch would be a good idea, because when you're using just a single die and you got to create your sandwich in your machine every time, it takes a while to create the amount of circles that you need, because you're going to need quite a few. So I started out with Pretty Peacock, and then I went through the gradient. So my next one I chose was Pool Party. So you can see those look good together. Got a couple already folded, so we're going to just fold the other 2 Pool Party ones. And folding a circle in half is not hard. It just takes time. And all I'm doing is I'm kind of holding it in between all my fingers. 2 below at the top, 2 on top in the middle, and 2 below at the bottom. And then I just push, make like a taco. And I'm putting it with right sides together. Okay, so we're creating valley folds in all of our circles. So I'm using 4 of each for the size of card that I want to do. And I think if you had a 1-inch circle and you did 4 of them, you could do a standard size card. Then I have some Coastal Cabana. I have 4 of those. We're just going to fold the last 2 in half. And I am using my bone folder just to give it a little extra crease. I don't know if that's necessarily necessary, but I'm doing it anyway. So that was the Coastal Cabana. And then the next one is one of the 2024 to 2026 in colors, which is Summer Splash. And we're just going to fold those last 2. So 4 of each. There we go. Now this is something you could also do on a layout. And you could use the same kind of circles, or you could use larger circles for this. I think it would create a really cool sort of 3-dimensional effect. It might be the kind of layout that you would want to put in a shadow box. You know, sometimes we just make a really cool layout and we want to frame it. So my last one is actually basic white. So you can see we've kind of gone from dark to light through our gradient using the Pretty Peacock, Summer Splash, Coastal Cabana, Pool Party, and Basic White. Sorry, I got those in the reverse order, some of them. So it's Pretty Peacock, Summer Splash, Coastal Cabana, Pool Party, and then Basic White. I was reading my list the wrong way when I was going through those one by one. Okay, so now that we've got all our circles prepared, we're going to come in, again, I said I was doing a 5x7 card. So I've got a piece of basic white that is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And let's just kind of, we'll do this. We'll line our guys up here. I don't want to get them out of order. All our little circle tacos. And the easiest way to attach these to your panel is to add some adhesive straight onto the panel. So I'm going to add my adhesive about 1 inch down and about 1/2 inch in, and end 1/2 inch before the end. So let me see if I can show you that. Okay, we're just going to add a strip of adhesive straight across the card. We're going to remove the backing, and that's going to expose our adhesive. And now we just start building our design. And there's a pattern to this because we're weaving. You will notice when you sort of open these up a little bit that you can have your seam or your crease going vertical and horizontal, or on an angle. For this, we're going to use vertical and horizontal, and we're going to alternate. And we're also going to tuck some under and have some on top. Okay, so you just have to kind of get the pattern going and then just continue. So the first one, I'm just going to stick down here, and I'm going to make sure that I have about an even space between the top and the side there. If my spacing gets really off, I can always trim my panel. That works. And then what I want to do is I want to just kind of stick down in the center. I want those outside edges to be able to lift. Now we're going to do a little bit of extra zhuzhing at the end to make sure that everything kind of works the way it's supposed to. But our next one, we're going to have our crease going horizontally, and we're going to tuck it under, and we're going to tuck it under about 1/4 of the way of the distance of the circle, if that makes sense. About 1/4 of the way under. And then our next one is going to be vertical. And if you look at this first one, because we tucked this under, this one's on top. So this next one will be vertical, just like this one, and it will be on top, and we're going to overlap it the same amount, about 1/4 of the diameter of the circle. Yes, diameter. Circumference is the way around, diameter is the cross. Got to bring back my grade 3 math skills. And then this last one is going to go horizontal, just like this one, and it's going to be tucked under. And now this is when you can kind of zhuzh it around a little bit, because I'm going to say that this one's tucked too far. So because we've used our little tape under here, we can adjust a smidge. If I use liquid glue, I wouldn't be able to adjust as easily. So I'm going to just sort of squizzle these, if I can. Squizzle these over a smidge. So we get everything in the position we want. Once we get the first row on, then everything else will kind of fall into place. Okay, so there's our first row, which is hard to see. We've got vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. Now we need to add a second row of adhesive, and we're going to do that just below where we did the first one. And I'll hold it up so you can see. I've left a little bit of a gap, not quite 1/4 of an inch. And then we're going to take the backing off. This saves a lot of individual gluing, which I think is awesome. Hey, Ellison, I see you're on there. And also, Laura, good morning, good morning. You made it. We're doing our woven circles. So now we're going to move on to our pool party. And because this one was vertical, our next one down will be, can you guess, horizontal. And because this one was on top over here, we're going to put it underneath on this side. So we're going to overlap like that, about 1/4, and put that one horizontally. So because that's horizontal, the next one will be vertical, and it's going to go on top of this one, but under the one above. So we're going to tuck our point 1/4 of the way under that circle, and have our left side 1/4 of the way on top of that circle. And what's going to happen is, oops, here at the intersection between all 4 circles, it's going to all kind of come together. See how it kind of all intersects? And that's going to actually keep those 4 quadrants kind of popped up. So we're creating a 3D effect without having to need any foam or anything under there. It's because they can't move any farther squished. They can't squish any farther, although when you put it in an envelope, they might squish. This may be the kind of card you have to hand deliver. And then, so our next one, we're going to go horizontally. We're going to tuck under this one, and we're going to go on top of that one. Like so. And then, oops, I'm a little off. There we go. And then our last one's going to go vertically on top of that one and under the one above. Like that. And as you progress through this, you're going to get a little more skilled at how the pattern works. Okay, our next one has to be vertical because this was horizontal, and it's going to get tucked under, but we got to add some adhesive first. The adhesive helps. It sure does. Doesn't stick otherwise. There we go. Okay, vertical. And we're going under. Not in a bad way. We're not going under in the bad way. All right, this one will go under this one, but over top of that one. And then the next one, vertical, over top of the one to the left and under the one above. And then we're going to go horizontal. We're going to go under this one and on top of the one above. Okay, now we're moving on to our summer splash. Add our adhesive. I find once you get used to the pattern, it goes pretty quick. The trickiest, longest part I found was just cutting out the circles. And so that's where a punch would be ideal. Okay, that one's going to go on top, actually. I stuck it under. Should be on top, like that. And it's horizontal. Then we're going vertical. And this one's going to go under the one above and on top of the one beside. Next one will be horizontal. It's going to go under this one, and above that one, and then we got to lift this one back up. If any of them kind of get stuck down in the adhesive, just lift them up. Under that one, on top of that one. And our last row, we're going to add the pretty peacock. What are we thinking? How's it looking? Good morning, Mary. Our last one, we're going to go vertical, and we're going to tuck it under. Like that. Next one, horizontal. This one's going to go under the one to the left and over the one above. Vertical, over, under, over, under, over. I've done basket weaving. A friend of mine at church up north taught me how to do basket weaving. And so I remember as we're working on projects, you're just kind of mumbling under your breath, over, under, over, under, over, depending on the pattern. You do a lot of mumbling to yourself. Now, to make sure that my edges follow the pattern, yes, it does. It reminds you of an ocean, kind of the gradient of color. And I notice this looks a little bit crooked down here, but we're gonna persevere. To make sure that our edges kind of keep with the three-dimensional effect, what I'm going to do is I've got some mini dimensionals here, and I'm going to actually use a poking tool. Now, this is not the Stampin' Up! One, because I wanted one that's a little finer, and I'm going to just poke into the side, right into the foam, so that I've got an octagon on a stick. I'm going to remove the backing like that. So now it's sticky on both sides, but I can position it. So the ones that come out that are have the V running towards the outside are fine. The ones that I need to look at are the ones that have the flap to the outside. And I want this outside flap to be lifted. So I'm just going to lift the flap, and I'm going to take my little foam on a stick, kind of like a pizza oven. I'm going to shove it in and then kind of push the circle down and pinch it in there. Can you see it wedged in there? And I've tucked it in pretty far in, closer to where the crease is. But that will give a little bit of lift on those ones that have the flap towards the outside. So let's grab the next one. And so we can ignore this one. It's so fine. The one that has the flap to the outside, we're just going to tuck that. And we're going to work our way all the way around the edge of our design. Oops. So now we're going to turn. Now this one has a flap to the edge. We didn't have to foam the other side because it had the point. Let's stick that on there. The other thing that this helps to do is if your adhesive came a little far out, the foam covers up the adhesive, so your circle doesn't want to try and squish down flat. It's going to be raised up with that nice little hexagon. Okay, we're just going to work our way all the way around. This is pretty quick. Once you get going, stab it in the side. If you've ever made a shaker card, have you ever made a shaker card and you get it all done and there will be a sequin somewhere that's just not behaving? What I often do is I take something long and skinny like this and I'll actually pierce in, say this is the foam of your shaker, I'll actually pierce in through the foam into the inside of the shaker and then wiggle it around to get it unstuck. Has anybody ever done shaker surgery like that? I have done it quite a few times because, you know, when you go to put that acetate on top and the static does its thing and the sequins jump and then you got a sequin that's trying to be, you know, vertical. Sometimes that happens. Yep. And I think this is the last one. Yep, there we go. We have gone all the way around. Now you can see how cool are those woven circles looking. Isn't that a really fun textural element on this card? I think that is super cool. And then what we need to do is we need to add a sentiment on there. So from the Winterly Treetops, I have decided to use A Friend Like You Brings Me Happiness. This is a winter themed stamp set. It's in with the winter collections, but the sentiments on here are not Christmassy or anything. They're sending thanks and much love, thinking of you always, a friend like you brings me happiness. So those work for any time of the year. So this is a nice versatile stamp set. So I'm just going to stamp this in black. I'll line myself up. It'd help if I had the stamp the right way around. Make sure I got it good and inked and I didn't get too much on the edges. And we're just going to stamp that on there. Centered, hopefully. This card doesn't need a whole lot more. We've already done some pretty cool stuff with this card. Let's grab a card base. I have a 5x7, which is 10 by 7, and then fold it in half. I don't know why I had to measure that. Double of 5 is 10. That's not it's not hard math. So we're just going to crease it down. And then because we have all of this going on, we can't kind of flip this over and stick it down. So I'm actually just going to put my adhesive right on my card front, like so. Take the backings off. Oops. And then we can stick this on, and it'll be centered on here. So just line it up. Oops. As it all shifts around. And stick it down. And then we can kind of, if you push in the center of the creases, it's okay. Don't want to push on the sides. And then we need a little bling. So I've just got my basic rhinestone jewels here, and let's add just some down here because this is super eye-catching. So having a little bling down here to draw your eye to the sentiment is a good idea. So there we go. So just 3 little rhinestone jewels. A friend like you brings me happiness. I love how we created this. We started out with our stylish shape circle die. Has that little stitched edge, which I think adds an element. So although a punch would definitely be quicker to create all the circles, that little extra stitching kind of looks cool on there too. So it's a catch-22. But this is a great project for all those scraps of cardstock that you have. And, you know, as you're creating something, punch a few circles out, throw them in a dish, right? And then you can just start pulling them out and creating all sorts of cards. And they can be rainbow colored. They can be random colored, although I am very fond of the gradient. So we added in our pretty Peacock, Summer Splash, Coastal Cabana, Pool Party, and our basic white, creating that fun woven circle pattern, adding it onto our 5x7 card base, a little bit of stamping and a little bit of bling, and how cool is that? I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that woven circle pattern come together, and I hope that you give this a try, and if you do, take a photo of it, pop it in the comments when I post my photos, and I would love to see and have people see what you create. Alrighty, have a wonderful rest of the morning. We will be on at 11:30 for Chat and Craft, and you can check out the game and the 3 challenges for today that have already been posted. All right, we'll see you soon. Toodaloo. Bye.